The stars had always called to humanity. For 200 years they had reached out into the darkness. They built cities on Mars. They mined the asteroids. They sent ships to the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. And through it all, they wondered one simple question: are we alone? In the year 2247, they got their answer. Admiral Park stood on the observation deck of Station Unity, orbiting high above Earth. He was 63 years old, with gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too many battles. Behind him, a dozen officers watched the screens in silence. No one spoke. No one breathed. On the screens, a fleet of alien ships emerged from nothing. One moment, empty space. The next, 400 vessels hung in the void like silver ghosts. They were beautiful in a terrible way. Smooth and curved, they glowed with soft blue light. Each one was larger than anything humanity had ever built. "First contact," whispered Lieutenant Shin. She was young, only 25, with short black hair and quick eyes. Her job was communications. Today, that job meant everything. Admiral Park nodded slowly. "Send the welcome message, all frequencies, every language we know." They had prepared for this moment. Scientists and politicians had written greeting messages decades ago. Humanity would offer friendship, trade, knowledge. They would show the universe that Earth came in peace. The alien fleet did not respond for 3 hours. When they finally answered, a face appeared on every screen. It was not human. The creature had pale gray skin, 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and no visible mouth. When it spoke, the sound came from somewhere in its long neck. The translation software worked quickly. "I am High Envoy of the Galactic Empire. You are the species called humans. Your system has been surveyed. Your technology has been measured. Your population has been counted. By the authority of the Supreme Sovereign, your worlds are now claimed as territory of the Empire." Admiral Park felt his stomach turn cold. "This is Admiral Park of the United Terran Federation. We welcome peaceful contact, but we do not accept." "You misunderstand," interrupted. His 4 eyes showed no emotion. "This is not a negotiation. You are a primitive species, your ships are slow, your weapons are weak. You will serve the Empire as a client race. Your people will work in our mines. Your scientists will share their knowledge. Your soldiers will fight our wars. This is not cruel. This is simply how the galaxy works." The transmission ended. For a long moment, no one on Station Unity spoke. Then Admiral Park turned to face his officers. "Get me the Federation Council, now." 3 days of emergency meetings followed. Politicians argued. Military leaders made plans. Scientists calculated odds. The math was simple and terrible. The Empire's fleet was larger, faster, and more advanced. In a straight fight, humanity would lose. But not everyone wanted to fight. "Perhaps we should listen to them," said one council member. "Survival matters more than pride. If we submit peacefully, our people will live." Admiral Park shook his head. "You did not see their eyes. They do not see us as partners. They see us as tools, as property. Submission is not survival, it is slow death." The debate continued. Meanwhile, Captain received orders she did not want. Commanded the patrol vessel Indomitable. She was 34 years old, with a sharp mind and a fierce heart. Her ship was small but fast. Her crew was loyal. And right now, she was escorting a civilian transport ship called the Bright Dawn. The Bright Dawn carried 3,000 colonists, families, children, workers heading to the Mars settlements. Among them was younger brother. He was 26, a teacher, and he had promised to call her when he landed safely. He never got the chance. The Empire ships appeared without warning. 3 cruisers moving fast. Captain ordered the Indomitable to defensive positions. She opened communications. "This is Captain. The civilian vessel is not a military target. We are not hostile. Please respond." High Envoy appeared on her screen. "Your Federation Council has not yet agreed to our terms. The Supreme Sovereign requires a demonstration. Your leaders must understand the cost of hesitation. What demonstration? Demanded, but she already knew. In her heart, she already knew. Watch, said, and learn. The three cruisers fired as one. Blue beams of light struck the bright dawn from three angles. The civilian ship had no shields, no weapons, no chance. In 4 seconds it broke apart. In 10 seconds it was dust and fire. In 30 seconds nothing remained but floating debris. 3,000 people gone. Captain screamed. She screamed until her throat burned. Then she went silent. Her hands shook on the console. On the screen watched her with those 4 cold eyes. Tell your admiral, the envoy said. The Federation has 28 more days. After that we will destroy another ship, then another, until you submit. The transmission ended. The Empire cruisers jumped away. Captain sat alone on her bridge, surrounded by debris that used to be her brother. When she finally spoke, her voice was calm, too calm. Get me Admiral Park. Tell him I know my answer. Tell him humanity should fight. On Station Unity, Admiral Park received the news. He watched the footage of the bright dawn dying. He read the names of the dead. And then he walked to a secure terminal and entered a code that only 3 people in the Federation knew. Project was active. Humanity had prepared for this. Not openly, not obviously, but deep beneath the moon, hidden inside asteroids, buried under Martian soil, weapons waited, ships waited, plans waited. For 200 years the humans had asked one question: what if the aliens are not friendly? Now they had their answer. Admiral Park addressed the Federation Council one final time. They killed our people to teach us fear. Now we will teach them something different. We will teach them that humanity does not kneel. Not today. Not ever. The vote was unanimous. War had begun. The Empire gave humanity 30 standard cycles to surrender. In Earth time, that meant about 28 days. High Envoy considered this generous. Most species submitted within 10 days. Some begged within 5. The weak ones simply gave up the moment they saw the Imperial fleet. But humans were strange creatures. They did not beg. They did not plead. Instead, they went quiet. Their radio signals dropped to almost nothing. Their ships pulled back to inner orbits. From the Empire's viewpoint, it looked like fear. It looked like a species preparing to accept defeat. Smiled with satisfaction. Another easy conquest. Another client race for the minds. He could not have been more wrong. Deep beneath the surface of Luna, humanity's largest moon, General walked through tunnels that officially did not exist. He was 51 years old, built like a fighter, with scars on his hands from decades of combat training. Behind him walked 40 officers from every branch of the military. How long have these facilities been here? Asked one young commander. General glanced back. Construction started in 2089. That was 158 years ago. Every generation added more. Every year we dug deeper. The tunnel opened into a cavern so vast that the far walls disappeared into darkness. And in that darkness, ships waited. Hundreds of them. Warships with sleek hulls and weapons that gleamed under work lights. They had never flown in open space. They had never been photographed by satellites. To the rest of the galaxy, they did not exist. The Empire thinks we have 50 combat vessels, General said. They are wrong. We have 812. By the time they realize their mistake, it will be too late. On Mars, a different kind of preparation was. Doctor stood in the control center of the Titan research station. She was 47 years old, with silver-streaked hair and the permanently tired look of someone who worked too hard and slept too little. She had spent her entire adult life on one project. Today, that project would finally prove its worth. "Is it ready?" asked Admiral Park through the video screen. Doctor nodded. "The gravity lance is fully operational. We have 3 units deployed across the outer system. Each one can target multiple ships at once." "Explain it to me again, in simple terms." Doctor smiled slightly. Even after 20 years, people struggled to understand her work. Everything in the universe has gravity. The lance doesn't shoot bullets or beams. It grabs the gravity inside enemy ships and twists it. The result is, she paused, searching for the right words. Imagine squeezing a can until it crushes. Now imagine doing that to a warship. Admiral Park was silent for a moment. How many ships can you destroy with one shot? Per lance, 30 to 40 depending on their formation. For the first time in weeks, Admiral Park almost smiled. Good, very good. Across the solar system, humanity prepared in ways the Empire could not imagine. Factories hidden inside asteroids worked day and night, building weapons. Scientists in secret labs tested technologies that the Empire considered impossible. Soldiers trained in zero gravity, learning to fight in ways no alien army expected. And Captain healed. She had not slept more than 3 hours a night since her brother died. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the bright dawn breaking apart. She heard the screams on the radio. She felt the helplessness of watching and being unable to save anyone. But grief was a fire, and let it burn inside her until it became something useful, something dangerous. I want the Indomitable upgraded, she told the engineering teams. Everything you have, every experimental system, every untested weapon. I do not care about safety protocols. The engineers exchanged nervous looks, but they did as she asked. The Indomitable was transformed. New engines, new shields, and one very special system that Doctor's team had developed in secret. They called it the phase drive. This will let you pass through solid objects, the lead engineer explained. Walls, shields, even the hull of an enemy ship. You become like a ghost for about 3 seconds. Captain nodded, and then I become solid again, inside their ship. Yes, but Captain, the timing must be perfect. If you phase back too early or too late. I understand. Her voice was flat, cold. I understand exactly what I am planning to do. The days counted down, 24, 20, 15, 10. High Envoy grew impatient. He sent messages demanding immediate surrender. He threatened to destroy more civilian targets. He promised that resistance would only make the conquest more painful. Admiral Park responded with silence. On day 5, the Empire detected something strange. Human ships were moving, not fleeing but gathering, forming into battle groups, taking positions around the outer planets. They mean to fight, reported to his commanders. How amusing. They're 50 ships against our 400. This will not be a battle, this will be a lesson. The Imperial fleet began its advance. 400 capital ships moved through the darkness of space, their weapons charged, their crews confident. They had conquered 100 worlds. They had broken 1,000 species. Humanity would be no different. They passed Neptune, then Uranus, then Saturn. As they approached Jupiter, something changed. Across the solar system, hidden doors began to open. In the Luna tunnels, General gave the order. Ships rose from craters and launched from underground hangars. On Mars, more vessels emerged from canyon bases, from asteroid fields, from moons that the Empire had dismissed as worthless. Lieutenant Shin, now serving on Admiral Park's flagship, watched her scanner fill with contacts. Sir, confirmed count of human vessels entering combat formation. How many? Admiral Park asked. She took a breath. 812 warships, plus 200 support craft, plus, she paused, checking the numbers twice, plus the 3 gravity lance platforms. Admiral Park stood from his command chair. Around him, officers checked weapons. Pilots ran to their fighters. The entire human species held its breath. Send one message to the Empire fleet, he ordered. 3 words only. Lieutenant Shin typed the message. Her hands did not shake. What 3 words, sir? Admiral Park looked at the screens showing the advancing enemy. He thought about 3,000 dead colonists, about Captain's brother, about every person who had ever been told they were too small, too weak, too primitive to matter. "Tell them this," he said, "you should run." The message went out. The Empire did not run. That was their first mistake. Grand Admiral stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. He was old for his species, nearly 200 years, and he had fought in 47 campaigns. He had never lost, not once. His name was feared across 100 star systems. Today, he expected another easy victory. "The humans have more ships than we thought," reported his tactical officer. "Our sensors show over 800 vessels." Made a dismissive sound. "Numbers mean nothing. Their weapons are primitive. Their shields are weak. Their pilots have never fought a real battle. We will crush them in hours." He gave the order to attack. The two fleets met near Titan, Saturn's largest moon. From a distance, it looked almost beautiful. Thousands of lights moving against the black of space. Engine trails glowing like fireflies. The rings of Saturn shimmering in the background. Then the dying began. The Empire fired first. Blue energy beams lanced across space, striking human ships with deadly accuracy. Shields flared and failed. Hulls broke open. In the first minute, humanity lost 12 vessels. But humanity fired back. Admiral Park watched from his flagship, the Resolve. His hands gripped the armrests of his command chair. "All ships, execute pattern storm. Show them what we have prepared." The human fleet moved in ways the Empire had never seen. They did not fight in straight lines like proper warships. They scattered, regrouped, scattered again. Their small ships darted between the larger Imperial cruisers, targeting weak points that should have been impossible to hit. "What kind of tactics are these?" demanded. "They fight like insects." His officer checked the displays. "Grand Admiral, we are losing ships. Their weapons are different. They are penetrating our shields." Human missiles did not explode on impact. They drilled through shields, attached to hulls, and then detonated inside the ships. Human beam weapons did not fire in straight lines. They curved around obstacles, chasing targets like hunting animals. Human fighters were not just machines. They were controlled by pilots who seemed to predict Imperial movements before they happened. Because they did predict them. For 200 years, human scientists had studied every scrap of data about alien combat. They had analyzed thousands of battles. They had built simulations and run them millions of times. They knew how the Empire fought better than the Empire knew itself. Captain watched the battle from the Indomitable. Her ship was small, fast, and deadly. Around her, her crew worked in focused silence. They knew what she was planning. They had volunteered anyway. "Captain," said her navigation officer, "the enemy flagship is 200 kilometers ahead. Their shields are at full power." Nodded. "Prepare the phase drive." "Captain, are you certain? The timing must be." "I know the timing." Her voice was quiet, steady. "I have practiced this in my mind every night since my brother died. I know exactly what I am doing." The Indomitable accelerated, faster and faster until the stars blurred around them. On the Eternal Dominion, sensors detected the small ship approaching. "One vessel on collision course," reported an Imperial officer. "It is too small to threaten us. Ignore it." That was their second mistake. Captain activated the phase drive. The Indomitable became something not quite real. For 3 seconds, it was a ghost ship, existing between dimensions. It passed through the Eternal Dominion's shields like they were smoke. It passed through the outer hull like it was shadow. And then, in the exact center of the enemy flagship, it became solid again. The explosion was not large. The Indomitable was a small ship, but it did not need to be large. It appeared inside the Grand Admiral's bridge, directly in front of his command chair. Had 1 second to understand what was happening. 1 second to see the human ship materialize from nothing. 1 second to feel fear for the first time in his long life. Then everything went white. Captain did not die. The phase drive had a. At the moment of detonation, it threw her and her bridge crew into a protective bubble of twisted space. They were burned, broken, and barely alive. But they were alive. Her crew pulled her from the wreckage as escape pods launched. Through the flames and chaos, she saw the Eternal Dominion breaking apart. The ship that had conquered dozens of worlds was dying around her. "Did we get him?" she whispered. Blood ran down her face. Her left arm was shattered. "Yes," Captain said. He was crying. "You got him." Across the battlefield, the Empire fleet saw their flagship explode. They saw Grand Admiral die. And for the first time in living memory, Imperial soldiers felt something they had never felt before. Panic. Doctor had been waiting for this moment. On the Titan research station, she watched the battle through long-range sensors. When the enemy formation broke, she smiled. "They are clustering together," she said. "Exactly as we predicted. Activate the gravity lance." Her technicians obeyed. Deep in the station, ancient machinery hummed to life. 3 platforms across the outer system aligned their targeting systems, and then they fired. There was no beam, no flash of light, nothing visible happened at all. But inside 37 Imperial ships, gravity went wrong. The force that held their vessels together suddenly worked against them. Metal bent, bulkheads crushed, engines imploded. In less than 5 seconds, 37 warships became 37 clouds of debris. Lieutenant Shin broadcast a message across all frequencies. Her voice was calm and clear. "You came to enslave us. You murdered our people. Now learn what humanity does to those who threaten our home." The remaining Imperial ships tried to flee. Some made it, most did not. Human vessels hunted them through the rings of Saturn. Fighters chased them past Jupiter's moons. Missile boats tracked them to the edge of the system and beyond. There was no mercy. There was no surrender accepted. For every colonist who died on the Bright Dawn, humanity took payment in blood. The Battle of Titan lasted 6 hours. When it ended, 312 Imperial ships were destroyed or disabled. Humanity lost 89 vessels. Nearly 8,000 human soldiers died. Their names were recorded, their sacrifices remembered. But the Empire lost more than ships. They lost their reputation. For the first time in centuries, a client species had fought back and won. Word spread across the galaxy at the speed of light. In slave quarters and mining colonies, oppressed peoples whispered the news to each other. The humans won. The humans beat them. On a hospital ship, Captain lay in a medical bed. Her body was wrapped in healing bandages. Her arm was being rebuilt by robotic surgeons. She should have been unconscious. Instead, she was watching the final reports from the battle, watching the numbers of enemy dead rise higher and higher. "Is it enough?" asked the nurse attending her. Thought about her brother, about the 3,000 who died with him, about every person who would never come home. "No," she said quietly, "not yet, but it is a good start." Far away, the survivors of the Imperial fleet limped toward home. They carried news of their defeat, news of weapons they could not understand, news of a primitive species that refused to break. The Galactic Empire had wanted to teach humanity fear. Instead, humanity had taught them something else entirely. The throne room of the Supreme Sovereign was silent. It had never been silent before. For 1,000 years, this room had echoed with celebrations of conquest. Generals reported victories. Admirals presented tribute from broken worlds. Subject species knelt and begged for mercy. Today, there was only silence and fear. "Explain this to me," said the Supreme Sovereign. His voice was soft, dangerous. "Explain how a primitive species destroyed Grand Admiral. Explain how they killed 300 of our ships. Explain how they made fools of the greatest military in galactic history." High Envoy stood before the throne. His 4 eyes could not meet the Sovereign's gaze. They were stronger than we expected, your radiance. Their technology was hidden. Their tactics were unusual. We underestimated them. Underestimated. The sovereign tasted the word like poison. You underestimated them, and now the entire galaxy is laughing at us. Do you know what happens when an empire looks weak? Rebellions happen. Uprisings happen. Everything we built for 1,000 years begins to crumble. He rose from his throne, stepped back trembling. Gather the remaining fleets, every ship we have, we will burn there to ash. We will. Your Radiance, a communications officer interrupted, his voice shaking. The humans, they are coming here. What? The officer projected a map of Imperial space. Red dots moved across it like blood spreading through water. Their fleet crossed into our territory 3 hours ago. They are attacking our outer colonies. Military targets only, but they are advancing fast. The Supreme Sovereign stared at the map. That is impossible. They should be rebuilding. They should be defending their own system. No one counterattacks this quickly. But humanity was not like other species. Admiral Park had learned something important from studying history. Wars are won by those who control the momentum. The Empire expected humanity to wait, to fortify, to give them time to recover. Instead, humanity attacked. Commander O led the first strike force. He was 39 years old, a career soldier with a face like carved stone. His orders were clear: hit military targets, avoid civilians, and make the Empire feel pain. Target the shipyards first, he ordered as his fleet approached the colony world of III. Without ships, they cannot fight back. The human vessels swept through the system like wolves. Imperial defense stations fired desperately, but they had been designed to intimidate weak client species, not fight actual wars. Human weapons tore through them in minutes. But Commander O kept his word. When the battle ended, the civilian settlements were untouched. The factories still stood. The homes were safe. Only the military installations burned. He broadcast a message to the planet. We are not here to conquer you. We are not here to enslave you. We are here because your empire murdered our people. Remember that. Remember who started this, and remember who is ending it. Across imperial space, the pattern repeated. Human fleets struck fast and hard, destroying military power while leaving civilians alone. It was a deliberate choice. Admiral Park had insisted on it. We will not become what they are, he told his commanders. We will show the galaxy that strength and honor can exist together. We will win without becoming monsters. Doctor had a different weapon. She did not destroy ships or burn stations. She destroyed lies. For 1,000 years, the Empire had controlled information. Subject species were told that the Empire was invincible. That resistance was futile. That obedience was the only path to survival. The truth was hidden, buried, forgotten. Doctor brought the truth back. Her team created a virus, not for computers but for communication systems. It spread through imperial networks like wildfire, and everywhere it went, it broadcast two things: the footage of the Bright Dawn massacre and the Empire's own internal messages. Billions of beings across 100 worlds watched 3,000 innocent people die. They heard imperial officers laughing about teaching the primitives their place. They saw the casual cruelty that their masters had always hidden behind propaganda. The effect was immediate. On Prime, the slave workers in the shipyard stopped working. When imperial guards tried to force them back, they fought. Thousands have died, but the shipyards burned with them. On Collective, the telepaths who served as imperial interrogators refused to continue. We felt the fear of the dying humans, their leader announced. We felt the joy of the officers who killed them. We will not serve monsters any longer. On World After World, subject species looked at their chains and asked a simple question: if the humans can fight back, why can't we? Captain watched these reports from her hospital bed. Her body was healing slowly. The doctors said she might never fully recover. She did not care about her body. She cared about the mission. "Let me record a message," she told Lieutenant Shin, who had come to visit her, "for the Imperial throne." Hesitated. "Captain, you should rest." "I will rest when this is over." Eyes were hard as steel. "Set up the recording equipment." The message was broadcast across all Imperial frequencies. Captain sat in her hospital bed, bandages covering half her face, her rebuilt arm still locked in a healing brace. She looked directly into the camera. "My name is. I am the one who destroyed your Grand Admiral. I am the one who killed him in his own throne room. And I am recording this from a hospital ship because fighting you nearly cost me my life." She paused, took a breath. "But I would do it again, 100 times, 1,000 times, because you took something from me that I can never get back, my brother, my crew, my faith that the universe might be fair." Her voice hardened. "We did not start this war, but we will finish it. Every drop of human blood will cost you a river of your own. Every person you have killed will be paid for 10 times over, not because we want revenge, because you need to learn. The galaxy needs to learn. Humanity does not kneel." She leaned forward, ignoring the pain in her broken body. "So here is my promise to you, Supreme Sovereign. We are coming, not to conquer, not to enslave, but to end you. And when we stand in your throne room, you will finally understand what you created when you chose to make enemies of Earth." The recording ended. Across the galaxy, it played on every screen, every speaker, every device that could receive a signal. On the Imperial, the Supreme Sovereign watched in silence. For the first time in his long life, he felt something cold spreading through his chest. Not anger, not pride, not the confidence of 1,000 victories. Fear, pure, simple fear. The humans were coming, and nothing in the galaxy could stop them. 6 months had passed since the Battle of Titan. 6 months since Grand Admiral died. 6 months since humanity proved to the galaxy that even the mightiest empires could fall. Now human ships orbited the Imperial. Admiral Park looked out the viewport of the Resolve. Below him, the capital city of the Empire spread across the continent like a jewel. Towers of crystal and metal reached toward the sky. Gardens and parks covered the spaces between buildings. It was beautiful, it was powerful, and it was completely at humanity's mercy. "Sir," said Lieutenant Shin, "we are receiving a transmission from the surface. The Supreme Sovereign wants to negotiate." Admiral Park nodded slowly. "Tell him I will meet him on neutral ground, the diplomatic station above the third moon, 1 hour." The meeting room was small and plain. White walls, a simple table, 2 chairs facing each other. No weapons were allowed inside, no guards, just 2 leaders deciding the fate of billions. Admiral Park arrived first. He wore his dress uniform, medals gleaming on his chest. Behind him, spread out but waiting, stood the people who had made this moment possible. Captain still bearing scars from her attack on the flagship. General who had led the secret preparations for 200 years. Doctor whose weapons had changed the nature of war. Commander O who had carried the fight to enemy space. Lieutenant Shin whose voice had delivered humanity's message to the stars. And representatives from every human colony. Mars, Luna, the asteroid miners, the outer station workers, all of them standing together. The Supreme Sovereign entered alone. He was smaller than Admiral Park expected. His robes, once magnificent, were wrinkled and stained. His eyes, which had once commanded terror across the galaxy, were tired, defeated. "Admiral Park," his voice was hollow, "you have won. I am here to discuss terms." Admiral Park gestured to the table. They sat. "You are offering surrender?" the Admiral asked. "I am offering peace." The Sovereign's hands trembled slightly. "The war is over. You have proven your strength. Let us end this before more die. I will recognize human sovereignty. I will pay reparations for the incident with your transport ship. I will sign whatever treaties you require." Admiral Park was silent for a long moment. Behind him, Captain shifted slightly. He could feel her eyes on his back. He knew what she wanted. "No," he said finally. The Sovereign blinked. "No, but this is victory. This is everything you fought for." "You still do not understand." Admiral Park leaned forward. "You killed 3,000 innocent people to teach us fear. You did not apologize. You did not mourn. You called it a demonstration. And now you offer peace as if that was just business, just the way things work." His voice hardened. "That is not acceptable. That will never be acceptable." He placed a document on the table. "These are my terms. You will not negotiate them. You will not debate them. You will accept them, or we will continue this war until your empire is dust." The Supreme Sovereign read the terms. His face went pale. Complete dissolution of the empire's military authority. War crimes tribunals for every officer involved in the transport massacre. Full independence for all subject species, currently under imperial control. The Empire's core worlds placed under joint supervision for 100 years. "This is not peace," the Sovereign whispered. "This is destruction. You are asking me to end everything my ancestors built." "Your ancestors built a prison," Admiral Park replied. "They built chains. They built a system where powerful species crushed weak ones and called it natural. We are not destroying your civilization. We are destroying your right to enslave others." Captain stepped forward. Her voice was quiet but carried clearly in the small room. "You took my brother from me. You took families from 3,000 people. And you did it because you thought we were too weak to matter, too primitive to fight back, too small to be worth treating like equals." She placed her hand on the table. "Look at me. Look at what I became because of your demonstration. Look at what humanity became. We were a peaceful species. We wanted to explore, to learn, to make friends among the stars. You turned us into warriors. You forced us to become this. And now you want mercy." She shook her head. "We are giving you mercy. These terms let your species survive. Let your culture survive. Let your children grow up in a galaxy where they do not have to fear being enslaved. That is more mercy than you ever showed anyone else." The Supreme Sovereign sat in silence for a long time. Outside the windows, human ships moved through the darkness, patient, waiting. Finally, he reached for the document. His hand shook as he signed it. "It is done," he said. His voice was barely a whisper. "The Empire accepts your terms." Admiral Park nodded. "Good, now it begins." The weeks that followed were chaos and celebration. Imperial military forces surrendered across the galaxy. Subject species declared independence. Old alliances crumbled. New ones formed. Human ships patrolled former Imperial space, not as conquerors but as peacekeepers. They helped refugee populations. They distributed food and medicine. They showed the galaxy that power did not have to mean cruelty. War crimes tribunals began. Officers who had participated in the Bright Dawn massacre were brought to justice, not through revenge but through law, through evidence, through the simple principle that murdering innocent people was wrong, no matter who did it. On Earth, the celebrations lasted for days, but Admiral Park did not celebrate. He stood alone on Station Unity, looking down at the blue and green world below him. "Are you satisfied?" asked Doctor, joining him at the viewport. "No," he admitted. 3,000 people are still dead. Nothing will bring them back." "Then what do we do now?" Admiral Park was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled slightly. "We do what we always wanted to do. We explore. We learn. We make friends. We show the galaxy that humanity can be trusted. We become what we always should have been before they forced us to be something else." Lieutenant Shin made one final broadcast. It went out to every corner of the galaxy, to every species that could hear, to every world that had ever lived under Imperial shadow. "This is humanity," she said. "We came in peace. We offered friendship, you answered with death, and now you see the result. The empire has fallen, not through cruelty but through strength, not through revenge but through justice. We are not conquerors, we are not tyrants, but threaten our home, harm our people, and we will teach you why the universe should have left Earth alone. She paused, took a breath. To every species listening, we know what it is like to be threatened, to be told you are small and weak and meaningless. We know that fear, but we also know something else. We know that the smallest light can push back the deepest darkness. We know that courage matters more than size. We know that standing together makes us stronger than standing alone. Her voice softened. The Empire wanted to enslave us. Instead, they freed the galaxy. Their cruelty woke something in humanity that we did not know we had. Now that thing is awake, and it will protect the innocent. It will fight for the weak. It will stand against tyranny wherever it appears. She smiled. We are humanity, and we are just getting started. The message ended. Across the galaxy, beings of 1,000 species listened. Many had lived in fear their whole lives. Many had never believed that things could change. Now they believed. On a small transport ship heading toward the Mars colonies, a young teacher named had his name added to a memorial wall. Captain visited it every week. She brought flowers. She told her brother about the galaxy they had changed. We did it, she whispered. Not just for revenge, for justice, for everyone who comes after us. The universe knows who we are now. They know what we will do to protect each other. She touched his name on the wall. Rest easy, little brother. I will keep fighting, for you, for everyone, until the stars themselves grow old. The galaxy watched, the galaxy remembered. And humanity moved forward, into a future they had earned with blood and courage, and the simple refusal to kneel. The brutal message had been delivered. The universe would never forget it.